Howdy fellow model railroaders, my name's Kevin Brown. I want to thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. As you can probably tell from the title, this video is going to be mainly focused on a couple projects I wanted to get done around here. So I'll go into that in some depth. But first, I'd like to go over the new purchases for the layout, and I'd like to show you what I got. I decided there's going to be enough room on this module here for one more non-railroad structure, so I picked up the Walther's Vintage Dairy Queen kit. I think that'll go very nicely with this drive-in restaurant and kind of help set the scene. I also picked up, let's get it focused, this is a propane tank for the farm scene. That was a prominent feature, something I remember quite a bit from my grandfather's farm. So that's kind of going to be the inspiration for the farm scene, and I thought I picked it up. It's just 3D printed. I'm gonna need a little cleanup, but I think it'll work out quite well. The biggest thing I got is sitting right here. Actually, it's not the biggest. It's kind of the littlest, actually. This is a VO 1000 switch engine by Atlas. I don't know if I can get this to focus. Let's see. There we go. Obviously, it's a rock island. There we go. And I've been keeping an eye out for something that I can use for a operations project I have in mind. And I got this thing. I've been looking for something with a Midwestern theme, DCC installed. And I looked on Yankee Dabbler's site, and they had these for sale for fairly reasonable. I got it in my got it home for under $100, so I was pretty happy with that. So far it runs like a top. I really need to break it in, but yeah, so that's going to probably go on my transfer job, which I haven't put out together yet, but so I can start working on that. And I guess that leads into the I seem to have collected, let's just look through here, quite a number of projects to build for scenery for this whole part of the layout, and I can't see much use in buying a whole lot more, so I'm going to focus on buying some more freight cars and working on some operations aspect to the layout. So that's how that's going. So now on to the projects. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this group that has had in the past projects that just kind of bug you because you really want to get them done and get past it. So that's where I was at with two projects here, so I moved them to the front of the to-do list. The first project is making the corner modules for T-Track that I have useful for taking to shows. Those modules were extensively modified for the old incarnation of the Brownsville Terminal Railroad back when it was on that table over there. And that is never going to happen again, so I would like to have these modules usable, so that was project number one. Project number two is to modify that lovely low-profile kit I got from Tom Joyce. It's a factory for back along Blair Yard, and it already is low profile, but it's unfortunately way too wide, so I had to do some modifications to that, and I really wanted that on the layout, so that's the other project I moved to the front. So here's how I accomplished those things. I hope you enjoy watching. All right, here's an overview of the 4 T-Track corners that are left over from my earlier incarnation of the Brownsville Terminal Railroad. We'll go this way, explain a little bit. This was the module that was the end of Brownsville. Actually, Thomasville Borough fits between those two. And I've always liked that module. That turned out very well. We still use it at various shows because it has an access track to a extra staging yard if we want to. I've always been most pleased with this module, and I have every intention of keeping it exactly the way it is. It does kind of demonstrate here, if I can go zoom in here, the track at the normal spacing here of 33 millimeters is real close to the edge of the module, and that's why I put a little bitty shelf on there so if anything derailed it didn't go skittering across the floor. And that's kind of how all these others were modified. This was the module between Thomasboro and Minneapolis over here, and as you can see I put the shelf on this one too because it was right on the edge. This one is even more extensive. The shelf is ginormous. That's because of the amount of space that was necessary at the Brownsville station for all the widely spaced tracks. So this is a much larger shelf. And over here, weirder still, are the two wings that I put on so that it could accommodate those much larger and smaller radius curves that were from the Brownsville terminal to my little bitty staging yard that ended over there somewhere. So I have 4 modules, one of which is actually useful. And it's become obvious that it would be worthwhile for me to make these more useful. So the plan is to take the 3 modules that need work, strip off all the excess track, strip off the various shelves, and try and turn them into something that I can use more consistently. Now, one last point. This stack over here represents all the boxes I keep in my storage area to store these 4 modules. An empty box takes up just as much room as a full box. So if I'm going to have all this in storage space allocated, why not make this stuff useful? So, like I say, first step, take off all the excess track and go ahead and start stripping off the shelves to try and turn them into more regular modules. Stay tuned, we'll see how that all works out. Okay, that's more like it. I've got all the excess track off. They kind of look like regular corners now. I went ahead and put away that one corner. I'm not going to mess with that. So it's just these 3 I need to concentrate on. And just for the record, there's all the track that came off of them. So it's quite a lot. Now I have to work on taking the shelves off. These got 1 each, and that one's got 2. I fear that I screwed and glued all of those on, which is going to make this far more interesting. So that's the next step, try and get these darn things off. Okay, here are the 3 corners. After sawing off the shelves and a little chisel work to get rid of the excess. I know they look a little rough, but a little bit of wood putty and a little bit of sanding, I think these will turn out quite nice. They are technically usable now, but they look kind of icky. So next step is going to be trying to make those edges look a little nicer, maybe put some paint on them. Okay, here we are after a little bit of wood filler, not wood putty, I misspoke. That just shows you how much I know about carpentry. And some sanding. And it looks like these, I gotta let them dry. I had to kind of use a damp cloth to get all the dust off. This made a heck of a lot of dust. I'm glad I did a lot of the sanding outside. And that's the wood filler I used. And I'm pretty happy with the way this is going. I gotta let it dry and slap a little paint on it. And these things will look a lot better. Alrighty, a little bit of paint later. By golly, this starting to look like modules. The holes that I had up on top for extra feeds that are no longer necessary, I just put a piece of tape, painter's tape, and painted over that. It's a quickie little fix, but for the moment it'll do. So these things are sitting pretty good. Now it's a matter of making them easily storable and transportable, which means I got to start working on some boxes. Okay, this box will do quite nicely as is. As you can see, if I can get in here, up like that. I always put a barrier on the side so that the connectors for the tracks don't bang into the box, and it gives it a little bit of a crumple zone. This will work out quite nicely, and I like to glue permanently any buildings on a module. It makes it a lot easier to set up and tear down. So this particular box would allow for some sort of building on this. I have no idea what I do yet, but it gives me something to work on in the future. So this will work as is. Now coming over this way, these are the other 2 boxes that were used for corners, and they were made considerably larger in order to accommodate the wings and shelves that no longer exist. So they're kind of bulky and big, and I'm going to have to be replaced. And I've been doing some thinking. As you can see here, these 2 modules if you put a low profile scenery, which is a little more than ground foam on the top, and a separator between them, then they can be stacked together in a box really not much deeper than the box over here. And that would get rid of one box, and it would allow me to store this stuff a lot easier. We do a similar thing with some of the club modules. It's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a cheating way, a punt to put the scenery on it, but it does make for a lot easier for storage and transport. So I'm going to do that with these two modules, which means I have to build one more box, more or less like the one down there, perhaps just a little bit deeper, and put a separator in it. So that is the next part of this project. Here's a big old box I got from work when they're doing some construction. It's nice double-walled cardboard. It's about 2 foot square, I think 13 inches tall. I'm going to have to turn this into the box, and I'm still trying to figure out how that's going to happen. But at least it's good and sturdy. Well, that ended up being way more complicated than I wanted it to be. Unfortunately, the piece of cardboard, even though it's pretty good size, was not big enough to do everything I wanted to, so I'm going to have to build it in sections. So this represents the base, 2 walls. I'm going to glue those things together right over there, and I'm going to have to build 2 more walls to glue on there and there. So I'll do a little hot gluing and cut those last walls and show you what's going on. First piece hot glued, kind of looking like a box. There's the next wall, and we're ready to glue together. Even more like a box. Last wall. Voila, we've got a box. I put in a module, make sure everything fits, and I made sure to leave room for spacers to make sure the module doesn't slosh around, and I still got, that's the pile of cardboard, a big enough piece down there to do the separator. So next stop, trying to work on all the spacing. Okay, as you can see, all the spacers are in place. I also put some supports for the parts I can stack my modules now without them banging into each other. Got another one from over here. So, and of course I actually had to modify an older top there, but everything's cool. It all fits in. This project took a little longer than I expected, but now all my corner modules are usable, and they're transportable, and they've got storage. So the next step, which is going to be over a period of time, is put some scenery on the simple ones first. I'll do that as I'm doing other modules, because I'll have all the scenery stuff out anyway. And eventually start figuring out what to do on the bigger corner. I'm still working on that. But I made good progress, and I'm going to call this project done for the moment. One last quick note. These are the 3 boxes that now contain my 4 corners. Nice and easy size to stack in my car. And these are the boxes I can get rid of. The top 2 were the 2 corners. I actually absconded with that box's lid for over here. And I also found the bottom box down here was for the hidden staging yard, which is long since gone, and it was a low profile, no scenery kind of module anyway, so I can get rid of that too. And I have another 2 foot box that is designed for scenery that should fit my hopefully my river scene here pretty quick, or bridge scene. So yeah, I'd also like to put one more, I know there's at least one more module here, the one that's got the McDonald's on it and eventually have the gas station. I want to make that a box for that too, so it can transport. So, you know, all in all, I've been able to look through all my modules and figure out what can be taken to shows and what can't. So I made some pretty good progress. All in all, a nice little project. The second project that I've been dying to dig into is to take this low profile building and make it even skinnier so it'll fit behind the track way over there. First step, of course, is I'm going to have to disassemble this, and it's put together interestingly. It's going to make this an interesting project. Obviously, I got to split that off. I've got to build a new base over here, and I've got to cut down this part to be somewhat less, on the order of 3/4 of an inch deep, rather than, it's probably 1.5 inches now. So that's the next project, and looking forward to digging into it. Well, here's the main body of Hoyt Clagwell. I ended up taking a Dremel to cut it down. As you can see, it's rather put together by bits and pieces and reinforced oddly. So I thought originally I was going to break the walls off and just cut them separately, but that didn't work out terribly well. So I went ahead and cut that down. This part, of course, didn't need any cutting down. So I'm ready to glue those together, and we'll see how everything fits. So here's everything all glued together. I really like the way this turned out. I think it complements Gentry Manufacturing over there. And I'm very pleased with how this come out. Now, on top here, if you can see the roof, I had to kind of booger up the roof there to cut it, so I want to repair that. I really liked how that was designed, how that worked. And over here, I'm going to have to build some sort of a small loading dock, which would be something I could put some details on later. But all in all, I think that works very well. Okay, a few repairs here and there, and I think this is good enough for the moment. I went ahead and repaired the roof with some of the leftover ballast, which is all that was used on it, and I had some extra. That's the first time I've ever ballasted a roof. And I built a loading dock. This is just the first mock-up, and I put a quick coat of paint on it. It'll do for the moment, but that gives some idea what's going on here. So I got a new building on Blair Yard, and I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm going to call this project done. I really am glad to get those projects done. I'm happy with the way they turned out. So that kind of sums up that. This part of the video, I usually start talking about my train group, the N-Scale of Bloomington Normal, and for once we got plans. We got stuff going on for 4 months in a row. So this is a wonderful change, and right off the bat, August 21st and 22nd, we will be at the Mattoon Train Show in Mattoon, Illinois. It's about 1.5 hours away from here. I'm getting the impression it's pretty much more of a swap meet, but we're going to go ahead and set up a very small T-track layout and hopefully get to connect with some people down there, see if we can get some new members. September 24th through 26th, we'll be setting up with the Fremo group. This will actually be Fremo number 6 in McLean, Illinois. This will very likely be an N-track setup. We get to set up on the stage again, and so there's really not enough room for 2 different layouts, and we don't have enough people to run 2 different layouts. So I have a feeling we're going to stick with N-track just for old time's sake, if nothing else. So yeah, we're going to be heading for that. October 15th and 16th here in Bloomington, we're going to have a fun run and set up our T-track modules and run some trains on that Friday and Saturday. Now, because we're using space for basically nothing, it's going to have to be not open to the public and an invitation only sort of thing. So if anybody's interested in coming by and running some trains with us, contact me below or any way you can, and we'd love to have you there. And last but not least, November 21st, the ICC show in East Peoria, Illinois. We're just going to do a day trip. We're not going to set up our modules, but it should be a fun time. I'll get some footage from that. And on the way home, there's a restaurant that has amazing pies. And I'm guessing the pies will be enough to make sure we got plenty of people showing up for that. So that's kind of the future. And like I say, I'm just really glad we got stuff going on. I guess that's kind of all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.